Hello everybody and welcome to this week's edition of Pinto's Preview. Gonna be going up a little bit earlier this week just because the game, of course, is a little bit earlier as well. A Friday kickoff between NDSU and Georgia Southern University in the FCS semifinals. Winner of this, of course, goes on to Frisco to take on the winner of the other semifinal game between Sam Houston State and Eastern Washington. But before we get to that, look back a little bit at last week. Wofford against NDSU. And Wofford, great defense, put up really a fantastic job stopping the NDSU offense, but the Bison defense just that much better, not even allowing an offensive touchdown. That's 2 straight playoff games since allowing a touchdown. Actually 3 if you go back to the Sam Houston State game. NDSU came away with the 14-7 win. Offense, like I said, did just enough to get that victory. Now this week, we move on to another Southern Conference school in Georgia Southern University. They run the triple option as well. It's a little bit different, and we'll get into that and a little bit more in this week's edition of Pinto's Preview. First point I want to make is the quarterback for Georgia Southern, Jerick McKinnon. This guy is completely different from what NDSU saw last year in J-Bo Shaw. J-Bo Shaw is more of a thrower. McKinnon, he's more of an athletic quarterback. He likes to run. He's very fast. In fact, he's the leading rusher for the Eagles coming into this game and the leader in touchdowns rushing for this offense. He makes this team go. He's a home run hitter is a term I've seen put to him, and his ability to really get this offense moving. How does NDSU play this defense a little bit differently? Well, again, it's the speed to the outside. So NDSU is going to try to have to negate that speed to the outside with their outside linebackers, Travis Beck and Carlton Littlejohn, while Grant Olson's going to try to patrol and roll in the middle. I think NDSU, it's going to be a little bit easier this week playing against a faster team than Wofford was, because up the middle, NDSU struggled a little bit. Wofford was able to get quite a few yards between the tackles, but I think because NDSU has speed at the outside linebacker position, it's going to play in their favor. Jerick McKinnon, though, he's a stud. He's a good, great triple option quarterback, and I think he's going to cause problems for this NDSU defense. Point 2 I want to make is NDSU and the offensive woes. Last week, only 14 points, nothing in the second half. They did just enough to get by. Give credit to Wofford. They caused turnovers when they couldn't. In fact, John Crockett had a nice run. Fumbled the ball in the red zone. He doesn't fumble that ball, NDSU might go in for a touchdown. And if Jensen doesn't throw the pick 6, we might be talking about a 21-0 game, and we might not be concerned about NDSU and the lack of offensive production. But we are, because Wofford was able to stop NDSU in the running attack. NDSU needs to have an effective running game to make sure and control clock, keep it out of the great offense of Georgia Southern, and get up a couple scores so Georgia Southern has to start throwing, which they don't want to do. They do not want to throw, obviously, with this triple option offense. So it's going to be on NDSU and their pro-style offense to really get this game going. Brock Jensen's going to have to be on target, not only with his arm, but with his legs. And the offensive line is going to have to make holes for Sam Ojuri and John Crockett to get through. I'm looking for 4 to 5 yards a pop. And I don't think that is something that you can't ask your offensive line in this big of a game to do, especially against a Georgia Southern defense that I don't think is as good, nearly as good anyways, as the Wofford defense was last week. So the NDSU offense, they need to step it up. Point 3 I want to make is the Friday kickoff for NDSU. Now this is a big opportunity for North Dakota State to present itself on a national scale. The casual college football fan that's kind of in that lull between the bowl season and the end of the regular season in the FBS is going to look at this game and go, what is this all about? I urge you to tune in early and stay with this game, because it's going to be fun, not only for North Dakota State, but the fact that Georgia Southern, a tradition-heavy school, has done great things in the FCS ranks, is very, very exciting to watch with that triple option offense. But NDSU, the fans have an opportunity to show the nation what the Fargo Dome is really like, how electric it can get, how loud it can get, how great of an atmosphere it can be, even at a smaller level, a Division I AA FCS level. North Dakota State, here's your opportunity. Make the most of it. It's a lot of pressure, I believe, on NDSU. How they're going to handle this, we'll see going into this game. I think they're going to handle it just fine, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun come Friday night up in North Fargo. And now for my prediction. I've gotten 3 games wrong this year so far. I picked NDSU to lose both to Illinois State and Colorado State, which they went out and proved me wrong. Picked them to beat Indiana State, and they went ahead and proved me wrong there too. So against Georgia Southern, I think it's going to be an NDSU victory. I think it's going to be 24-10, frankly, because NDSU is going to get up on them early and then dig in like they have done the last 2 weeks. You've seen how this offense they're not going to throw the deep bomb. They're not going to try for the home run play. What they're going to do is try to churn out yardage at about 4 or 5 yards a clip. They wait for the play clock to get down to about 5 or 3 seconds to go, and Jensen can run this offense. Turnovers are going to be key. I don't think Georgia Southern has the defense that causes turnovers, especially if NDSU wants to pass a little bit more because their pass rush defense not that good. I think it was about 45 dropbacks for Old Dominion last week, 2 sacks against Old Dominion for Georgia Southern. So it's not that good if you're thinking the Eagles defense might be able to put some pressure on Jensen. Also, 16 fumbles lost so far this year for Georgia Southern, which is about 117th or tied somewhere in that for the FCS low. If NDSU can come up with a couple fumbles, get that crowd into it, I think this game is going to be over quickly if those things can happen. However, I think NDSU is going to come out, win this game 24-10, and they'll punch their ticket back to Frisco for a second straight year. For Pinto's Preview and KFGO.com, I'm Daniel Gunderson.